Welcome back Stoner Squad, and welcome to all those new to the channel. My name is DanIsStoned, and thank you for joining me today for another episode of Imperator Academy, the tutorial series for Imperator Rome. Today we will be covering the topic that has been requested quite often, and that is the subject of vassals. In this episode we will cover all the different vassal types, what the prerequisites are for forming them, and the bonuses / effects that they provide to their overlord, which will hopefully be you. To help you guys out and to allow you to follow me without getting lost, a small spreadsheet should pop up just about now on the screen, and it's pulled from the Paradox Wiki, and it's an incredibly helpful piece of information, so I do advise you guys to read it properly and thoroughly and check that out. Now, before we go into detail about each type of vassal, there are a few general rules that apply to all vassal forms. First of all, when a country becomes a subject, all of the agreements with any other countries they've maintained are broken. Next, the overlord and the subject will always have military access to each other's territory, no matter what happens. And finally, the subjects that have military access to the territory of other subjects of the same overlord, which means your multiple vassals that you have can move their armies in each other's territory because they have the same overlord, which will be you. Each vassal type also has a loyalty value to the overlord. The value is between 0 and 100, and it increases or decreases depending on a variety of factors. These factors are being the strength in comparison Each vassal type also has a loyalty value to the overlord. The value is between 0 and 100, and it increases or decreases depending on a variety of factors. For example, your strength in comparison to their strength, or their opinion of you, for example, can increase or decrease that loyalty factor. Below a loyalty of 33, the subject is considered disloyal and may not join your wars if the vassal allows that. But more on vassal types in a short while. If the vassal is disloyal, they may join the rebelling side of a civil war if one occurs. If a rebellion of that vassal's culture happens, it will also join the rebellion if that vassal is disloyal. If loyalty hits 0, your tribute, which is the revenue provided by the vassal, is reduced by 50%. Anyway, now the general rules are out of the way, let's move on to the different types of vassals. And first off, the most basic and easiest form of vassal that requires no prerequisite is the tributary. Any nation, no matter what the government type of the attacker and the defender is, can gain this type of vassal in a peace deal. The tributary pays to their overlord 25% of their income per month, and it has limited diplomacy, meaning they cannot form any alliances of their own accord. Just remember, if too disloyal, they can break the tributary status of their own accord. It's important to remember that also you cannot integrate them into your realm, and they don't join your wars, so don't count on them being a solid ally in your military adventures. On the plus side, they don't cost you any diplomatic relation slots, so you can have as many as you want without penalty. In my opinion, this is the worst type of vassal. Try to avoid creating these. Trust me, there is so much better out there at your disposal. Next in line is the feudatory. Now, to form a feudatory, you must not be a tribal nation, as these cannot make them. You must also hold at least 20 territories. The target that you wish to turn into a feudatory must have no more than 10 territories and must be of the same culture group as you. Once you gain the feudatory, the newly acquired subject will give you 15% of their monthly manpower gain per month, thus increasing your own monthly manpower gain. The subject in return gains a 10% decrease to its army maintenance cost at the cost of a -5% to its citizen happiness. This type of vassal can be called into your wars and can be integrated into the realm. Remember, to integrate you need the vassal to have a very high opinion of you. It's something in the region of plus 180 or 190, I just can't exactly remember. Just like tributaries, feudatories do not cost you any diplomatic slots. Remember, these diplo slots are limited depending on your size, your diplomatic stance, and your inventions. However, they cannot break the relationship established with their overlord, meaning they cannot leave the union, but they are limited diplomacy-wise by the overlord. The feudatory can be quite useful if you are relatively small or playing tall, because they can compensate for your lack of monthly manpower generation by providing you with that 15% of their manpower gain. Now we move on to the tribal vassal. To make a tribal vassal, the target nation must be a tribal nation, and you must not be tribal. I repeat, you must not be tribal or it doesn't work. Your civilization level must also be higher than the target's capital civilization level. You are also limited to 10 of these types of vassals, so remember that. If you have 10 and you go to make an 11th, you cannot do it. Just like feudatories before, tribal vassals also provide you with 15% of their monthly manpower gain to you. The tribal vassal also gains a 10% to its maximum civilization level. It's kind of logical because you have a higher civilization level than them and you are in a diplomatic union. And they also gain an increase of 0.01 to their monthly civilization change. A little known side effect is that having a tribal vassal provides you with +3 to tribal national happiness. A tribal vassal can willingly break the relationship with their overlord and is limited diplomacy-wise, but they do not cost you a single diplomatic relations slot. Just remember, they don't join your wars and cannot be integrated into the realm. Again, this is one vassal type that I never use. If I want like a manpower providing vassal, I prefer to go for feudatories because they do join your wars. Tribal vassals don't. Next up, we have a very unique and rare form of vassal called the Satrapy. You can only form a satrapy if you are a monarchy with at least 150 territories under your control, and the target nation that you wish to turn into a satrapy must also be a monarchy. But, and this but is very, very important, the target must be of Persian culture. Satrapies provide you with 25% of their monthly income, and considering that a satrapy must have at least 40 territories, they will provide you with a shed load of cash. They also give you a handy +2% increase to your monthly legitimacy. Satrapies do cost a diplomatic relations slot, but they do join your wars and can be integrated into the realm. However, they are limited diplomacy-wise and they cannot break the union. Finally, we move on to the final and my favourite type of vassal, and that is the client state. In order to create a client state, neither you or the target nation can be tribal. The subject also has to have fewer than 150 territories under its control. Like satrapies, client states provide you with 25% of their monthly income. The client can also get a bonus to its national commerce income by 10%. However, the ruler of the client state gets a -5% penalty to his popularity gain per month. Now, where client states really shine is that they can only export to the overlord, which means you, guaranteeing you a stable supply of trade routes and trade goods that cannot be disrupted by foreign wars. You can quite easily create big client states who have access to a multitude of goods, thus enabling you to import pretty much any resource you like, and if you can just import them all into the capital to gain that bonus for having the surplus of the good in the province capital. Client states also join your wars, which make it really good because they maintain their own armies, and they can be integrated and they are limited diplomacy-wise. Just remember that they cost a diplomatic relations slot and they can break the relationship, but to break the relationship you've got to be disloyal and have rebellion and whatnot. But if you keep the client loyal, the break will never happen, so just don't really worry. Well, that's it for this video, guys. I hope it helps you all out on what can be quite a complicated subject. Vassals are an important and fun part of the game, so knowing what does what and what the prerequisites are for certain vassals can be incredibly useful. If you are playing, I do advise you to keep open the Paradox Wiki kind of spreadsheet, which gives you all the details on all the clients, what you need for them. Really keep that next to you so you can actually be sure when you go to war, you can actually create the type of vassal that you want to take. Anyway, I want to thank you for joining me, and hopefully this video hasn't bored you. I mean, it's not me doing much on screen, it's more or less me talking and trying to kind of go through what the different vassals are, so it makes it clearer for you guys, but I hope it was useful. Anyway, thanks again for joining me, and I will hopefully catch you all later on for another episode of Imperator Academy. Bye for now.